Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and setup you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode of Loadout. Today's top comment comes from BlahBlah97. He says, "Hey LevelCap, I found your battle log, and after looking at your least used guns, I came up with a great loadout for you. MK11 Mod 0, or Mark II Mod 0, depending on how you want to pronounce that, with a suppressor, G17 Suppressed. You have one kill with it. Play stealthily and use the spawn beacon to flank your enemies." Now this loadout doesn't really make mention of what scope you wanted me to use. You didn't say use the iron sights, so I just picked a American hollow sight for this one, since the suppressor is really going to reduce its effectiveness at long range. Its bullet velocity drops way down. Normally this gun shoots at 550 meters per second, and when you put a suppressor on here, it drops it all the way down to 310 meters per second. We're getting very slow here. That's kind of the velocity I would expect from an extremely close quarter weapon. So you're really gonna have to hit stationary targets or lead like crazy for long range targets. So if I'm going to be forced to use a suppressor on this gun, then I may as well take advantage of it. Team deathmatch is where suppressor is really going to help out. Not so much in rush games. If you're standing next to a machine gunner who's bipoded somewhere and shooting like crazy at long range targets, and you're standing next to him with a suppressed weapon, it doesn't matter that your gun's suppressed. He's still pinging on the minimap. He's still alerting the enemies of his location. My point is that in rush games or conquest games, you're often going to be running close to teammates that are running with unsuppressed weapons. The enemies will be alerted to their presence, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter that you have a suppressed weapon because the enemies are already aware that there's somebody in your general area. So on team deathmatch, you often run around by yourself a bit more. You can take flanking routes where enemies are less aware of your position, and that's where the suppressor is really going to come in handy. You flank behind an entire group of bad guys, you can start shooting them. You're not going to ping on the minimap. It's going to take them a lot longer to figure out where they're getting shot from. You'll notice that I've been placing down a tugs here and there. If you're using a suppressor, combining that with a tugs on a team deathmatch map like this one with buildings and whatnot, can be a really useful tool for making sure you know where the enemies are, that you don't get flanked, and that you can really set yourself up in some safer situations. Okay, so let's talk about the Mark II semi-automatic sniper rifle. Now before this loadout, you are correct, Mr. BlahBlah97, I really didn't have very many kills with it. I think I had less than 70. The reason for this is that the gun, stat-wise, is pretty much identical to the SVD, the QBU-88, and the M39 EBR. Now those four semi-automatic weapons are all so freaking similar to each other that switching between them isn't really going to give you a new playstyle or experience. I've put a lot of kills into those other weapons, so using the Mark II wasn't really going to be a big changing gameplay experience. Now, for all intensive purposes, the Mark II is better than guns like, say, the SVD. The SVD on paper has the exact same stats as the Mark II, except that it reloads a little bit longer. The Mark II also shoots with a higher bullet velocity than the SVD. So really, once you unlock the Mark II for the Russians, there really isn't any reason to go back to the SVD unless you like it for its aesthetic appeal. It's not like the SVD is terrible in comparison to the Mark II, it's just slightly longer at reloading and slightly slower bullet velocity. Now there are other weapons out there that have different advantages. The EBR is almost identical in many regards. All the guns do 50 damage maximum, 37.5 minimum. So it's a 2-shot kill up to about, I think it looks like 15 meters here. It's where the drop off starts. So a body shot will down somebody in 2 shots up to 15 meters. A headshot will kill them in 1 shot up to 15 meters. And beyond that, it's pretty much going to be a 3-shot kill at any range as long as you're going for the body. 2-shot kill if you hit them in the head. A nice little 1-2 combo that you can often get with this gun is shooting them once in the body from long range, adjusting your aim just slightly and hitting them in the head back to back. You can do these 2 shots very quickly, and that will be a 2-shot takedown. You do enough damage on the body so that a headshot will finish them off. Now, as I stated before, I am using the American Hollow sight. It gives me a little bit more zoom than a red dot sight, but it's not particularly high magnification, so long range targets aren't going to be necessarily the easiest to get pinpoint accurate shots on. You are more than welcome to use a ACOG scope, a 3.4 times scope. I wouldn't recommend going too much beyond that with this gun just because its effectiveness at range isn't going to be that great compared to, say, a bolt action sniper rifle. So you're going to want to kind of keep it to medium to long range environments, but just remember, at long range you're not going to be pinpoint accurate. You're going to be relying more on the volume of fire that this gun can put down range as opposed to its accuracy. Were I not using a suppressor with this weapon, I might be using a 3.4 PKA scope, just because the faster bullet velocity is going to make it a little bit more effective at longer ranges, and I can feel like I can perhaps zoom in a bit more and use this more frequently at longer ranges. Now, it's not that the suppressor completely ruins this gun at long range, but you're probably going to want to play maps where you're not shooting at too many moving targets. Team deathmatch maps with buildings or lots of places for cover often have people hiding in dark places, trying to get their own shots off, and you can find a lot of stationary targets. It'll be a little bit easier to get kills with. Now here's that G17 Suppressed. Can't say I'm crazy about this gun. The suppressor and laser sight, which is I believe the only pistol that actually combines those two, allows you to be a little bit more accurate from hipfire when you have a suppressor on the gun, which is fine. I normally like to aim down sights with a weapon anyway, unless it's something like the G18, but ultimately I wasn't crazy about the G17C with a suppressor on it. I've never really been that big a fan of the G17. I really like some of the harder hitting pistols or the faster firing pistols. M1911 is just a great balance of hard hitting versus rate of fire and ammo capacity. I think that really is becoming one of my favorite pistols. The G18 is just absolutely reliable for getting close quarter kills. It's gonna take anybody down. I mean, it does as much damage as a PDW does in most situations, so it's hard to argue with the G18. The G17 Suppressed looks pretty decked out. I mean, it's got the suppressor attached on there, it's got a laser sight on there, so if you're kind of a tech geek and you want to show off, or you want a pistol that looks like it's got a lot of technology built into it, then that's fine too, but I just didn't find it particularly impressive as a gun. It's going to perform a lot like the other standard pistols out there, like the M9 or the MP443. Same sort of damage area. The suppressor is going to make the bullets move a little bit slower, and the damage drop off at range is going to be less. So if you're not using it for long range targets, then it's not a big deal. But again, if you're going for close range, there's a lot of better options out there than the G17C Suppressed. So that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of Loadout. The MK11 or Mark II Mod 0 isn't a bad gun. It's actually quite good, and with the suppressor on there, it is usable. I'd recommend using it mostly in team deathmatch. Again, that's where you're going to get the most use out of the suppressor. Otherwise, I'd recommend just avoiding the suppressor. And it's a good gun. Give it a try. You'll probably enjoy it if you like semi-automatic sniper rifles. Don't forget to leave your comments down below letting me know what kind of gun and accessories you'd like me to run with for the next episode. And I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.